How's it? And welcome back to the Burton Builds garage. Today, you and me together, well, mostly me, are going to have a look at how to change the oil in your bakkies gearbox. So, let's get started. Specifically, the vehicle that we're going to be working on today is a Toyota Hilux, two-wheel drive, and it's a 2006 model. This will also carry over to the four-wheel drive and later models, and actually mostly any vehicle that has got a gearbox. The reason I say this is because most gearboxes have got drain plugs on the bottom, and they've got filler plugs halfway up the gearbox, where you obviously fill the oil. What tools are you going to need to complete this oil swap? Now, first up is a jack. You're going to need a jack, and together with that, you're going to need jack stands and wheel chocks. Now, if you don't have specific wheel chocks, you can use a nice chunky piece of wood to chock the wheels, and the reason for that is just so that the car doesn't roll around. Now, I'm lucky enough, as most of you that have got bakkies or pickup trucks, you'll also be lucky enough to be able to get under the vehicle without having to jack it up. But for those of you that have got cars, please don't just use a jack, use jack stands. A jack can always collapse at any moment, and you might be under that car, and then you're going to be stuck and get injured. So please use jack stands. The other things that you are going to need, and specifically in my case, a number 24 spanner. That's for my drain plugs. Both the drain plug and the filler plug use the same size spanner. You just need to get whatever size fits your vehicle, or a socket for that matter will also work. Another thing, a couple of rags if you've got lying around. If you don't, maybe just go check your wife's cupboard. You might find something there. I don't think she'll mind. And of course, oil, new oil for the gearbox. We're definitely going to need that. And then something to catch the old oil in, which I just used an old 5-liter container, cut a hole in it, works perfectly for me. And last but not least is going to be a set of gloves. Now, you don't, of course, have to use gloves, but I prefer to use gloves. It kind of protects your hands a little bit and, keeps them clean. We are going to start off by driving the bakkie around the block, preferably a big block, that is to warm up the oil in the gearbox, and this way it thins out a little bit and it drains a little bit easier. Next up, pulling the bakkie into the garage. To me, it's much nicer working inside. I start off by cracking loose the drain plug. On this vehicle, it's a 24mm plug, and it's located at the bottom of the gearbox. Now, your vehicle might be slightly different, so you'll just need to get the appropriately sized spanner. Once it's loose, shift something under the drain plug to catch the oil, and I have just used a 5-liter container, lying it on its side, and I cut a hole in the top. We carefully remove the plug, preferably without dropping it into the oil. While the oil is running out, I clean the drain plug and inspect the condition of the sealing washer. Now, in my case, the washer is in perfectly good condition, so I'm going to reuse it. But if yours isn't, they are very, very cheap items to replace, so just pop on a new one. Now that the oil has drained, we wipe the hole clean and turn the drain plug back in. One thing to be aware of, do not over tighten the drain plug. It's an aluminium plug and the threads strip fairly easily. Now, your vehicle may have a specific torque setting for the plug, likewise does mine. I'm just not too sure what it is, so one turn back from stripped should be good. Now, of course, that was a joke. Just make sure that you don't over tighten the plug. Normally when it's nipped up and a little bit more, that is generally tight enough. The filler plug is removed in the same way as the oil drain plug. On my gearbox, it's on the passenger side. I purchased the required spec oil from the Toyota dealership. Funny enough, it was cheaper to buy there compared to all of the aftermarket stores that I went to. These bottles also have a pull-out spout, which makes it really easy to fill the gearbox. This gearbox takes 2.6 liters of oil. Now, in your case, it might differ. Just consult your maintenance manual to get the specification, or maybe phone your dealership to get the quantity. In my case, I just had to buy 6 500 milliliter bottles, and that would be enough. You may ask yourself, well, how do you know when the gearbox is full? I can tell you, you don't fill it until it comes out the gear lever. Just continue filling it until the oil starts running out of the filler hole, and that's enough. This filling technique I got directly from the Toyota workshop. Probably a good idea to check your specific vehicle though. Before threading the filler plug back in, give it a good clean and check the condition of the washer again. Tighten it up just as we did for the drain plug. Wipe up any spilled oil, and that is it. And the very last thing to do is to take the vehicle for a test drive, and once you're back, check for any oil leaks. I also wanted to confirm what the workshop had told me about filling the gearbox, specifically on how much oil the gearbox takes. Now, my book said 2.6 liters, so what I ended up doing was just taking all of the empty oil bottles, there was 5 of them, and emptying them all into the last bottle, which still had a little bit of oil in, and stuck a stick in, and we can see that the stick shows us it's about halfway down the bottle. That means there's about 250 milliliters left, and out of 6 liters minusing the 250 milliliters, that means the gearbox took 2.75 liters, which is around about what is required, and roughly meets with what the workshop told me. So all in all, it was a fairly simple procedure. It took me about 1 hour to do. Really simple if you guys want to do it at home. Well, if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up, and if you have any comments, it's really always nice to hear from you. Let us know about your experiences with changing your gearbox oil. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really does help me out with the videos. And Brew, that's about it. We'll see you next time. Cheers.